Today, I would like to talk about mental health issues in the workplace for first responders. And what I mean by first responders are, of course, our law enforcement, our paramedics, firemen, our nurses and doctors, our correctional personnel, like correction officers. All of these individuals deal with traumatic situations on a daily basis. And on some other platforms, I tossed out this same type of question, asking individuals about mental health issues in the workplace. And some of the answers I was surprised with, and others, being in the field as long as I have been for law enforcement and corrections, I had to concur or agree with them. And what I mean by that, some of the things that was talked about was you really don't use mental health services when you work as a first responder. Basically, suck it up, buttercup. You were looked at as being weak, not able to do the job if you utilize mental health. And that's still going on today. When I started back in the 90s, that is exactly how it was. Nobody used mental health. Nobody talked to anyone for mental health. You just sucked it up. You let the cup overflow. And it's not surprising that first responders have a high rate of divorce. The alcoholism rate has skyrocketed. Some of the statistics say that after being a first responder for approximately 4 years, the alcoholism rate goes up 40%. And that's really high. It goes up 40%. Another one that was stated was the reason why they don't use mental health services is because still today, a lot of those old school mentalities are in supervisory positions, and they frown upon staff who need mental health services and still look at them as if they're weak and unable to do the job or fit for the job. But that's a shame when we have seen a high rise in alcoholism. We've seen a high rise in divorces. We've seen a high rise in unaliving of individuals in the field of first responder. And it has to change somewhere. It must change where it's okay for first responders sometimes to need mental health, to empty that glass some, get some of that fluid out of that glass so it's not overflowing. Having a place to talk to someone is something we really need to work on. We need to not judge individuals or gaslight individuals who need mental health, because we all know that's uprise in law enforcement or first responders and corrections. It's PTSD. Now, for as long as I worked in corrections, PTSD really was not talked about. Was it there? Of course, PTSD was there. The traumatic situations that happen in prisons, and even today, they still cover up in corrections nationwide PTSD. But in law enforcement, there's PTSD. In the medical field, PTSD. Our military, PTSD. And because of PTSD, it has caused a lot of the topics I'm talking about. Alcoholism, divorce rates, unaliving of each other. And what are these from? It could be something from in our department tragically happened to one of our fellow officers. It could be something that happened in our families, happened in the communities, a war zone in another country. All of these cause PTSD, and it affects everyone differently. A tragic situation, I would believe, really affects everyone that's involved. But there are some that can handle that stress level a little different than others. And I think as a whole, the organizations need to support mental health services for our first responders. They need not judge our first responders who step up to the plate and admit that they need to talk to someone. I can recall some major incidents that we had in my department, and they had teams that basically after a critical incident would come around and talk to the staff that were involved. And because of that stereotype of those old school leaders, we wouldn't talk to them. We would talk amongst each other, which at least we had an outlet. But we really wouldn't talk to those groups that were attempting to do intervention, because we didn't want to be looked at as being weak or needing to talk to someone. And I think as a whole, for the whole organization of first responders, we need to do better. We need to do better for our staff, for our brothers, our sisters. We need to really embrace mental health services when needed. We need to make sure our people are okay, just like we do for our civilians, just like we have to do for incarcerated individuals or inmates. But yet, we tend to not do the same for our own. It's okay to ask a fellow officer or a fellow first responder that you see a little off that day, and ask them, are they okay? You can make a difference just by talking to one another. I need everyone here to think about what I said. Do you have these problems in your organization or department? Is it frowned upon if someone in your department attempts to use or does use mental health services? Is your department lacking mental health services for your staff? Be an advocate for that if it does. Be someone that steps up to the plate, even if you don't need the services, but help enforce it to bring those services and make them available for each and every one that works in these departments. We have to stand on mental health services. We need to take care of each other as we take care of everyone else. I'm going to end this right here with, let's take care of each other and let's talk about it. Thank you for listening.